Caitlin Clark, the rising star of women's basketball, has found herself at the center of an unexpected storm. With over 3 million viewers tuning in to watch the Indiana Fever face off against the Connecticut Sun in the WNBA playoffs, the game set a new record for the most-watched WNBA game in history. Yet, instead of the league celebrating this accomplishment, controversy erupted shortly after the final buzzer, casting a shadow over the playoff series and shifting attention toward a series of off-court issues that now threaten to unravel the WNBA's recent gains. At the heart of this controversy is a clash between the WNBA, its players, and Caitlin Clark, along with her rapidly growing fan base. But why has this confrontation erupted? What's really happening beneath the surface? Is this controversy just a reflection of the league's growing pains, or is there a deeper issue at play that goes beyond the WNBA itself? This story isn't only about basketball, it's about race, representation, and the complexities of newfound fame, making Caitlin Clark a lightning rod for some of the league's unresolved issues. The sudden rise of one athlete can sometimes shake the foundations of an entire organization, and that seems to be happening within the WNBA. Let's unpack the details, focusing on Clark's impact, the backlash she's faced, and the larger ramifications for the league. At just 22 years old, Caitlin Clark has taken the basketball world by storm. A standout player at Iowa, Clark's transition to the WNBA has been nothing short of meteoric. With her dynamic play style, record-breaking performances, and massive popularity, Clark has quickly become the face of the Indiana Fever, and in many ways, the entire WNBA. But with such rapid success comes an equal amount of scrutiny and controversy. Clark's rise has injected new energy into the WNBA, drawing more attention to the league than ever before. For years, the WNBA struggled to capture a consistent and sizable audience. But Clark's arrival changed the landscape almost overnight. Her undeniable talent, coupled with her strong social media presence, made her the breakout star that women's basketball needed. Her skills are undeniable. She's smashing scoring records, displaying unparalleled court vision, and demonstrating an unyielding competitiveness that has electrified fans. But it's not just Clark's on-court ability that has set her apart. Her charisma and relatable demeanor have made her a media darling, attracting not only basketball enthusiasts, but also casual sports fans. Young girls across the nation now dream of becoming the next Caitlin Clark, and her jersey sales reflect that. The fever pitch around her has driven merchandise sales to levels the WNBA has never seen. However, with her success came unintended consequences. The influx of new fans, many of whom have been accused of inappropriate behavior, including racism, has created tensions both within the WNBA and among its players. Some players have voiced their frustration, claiming that Clark's fans, rather than supporting the sport, are bringing a negative and toxic atmosphere that is harmful to the league. This friction came to a head following the Indiana Fever's playoff series against the Connecticut Sun. Sun forward. Alyssa Thomas didn't hold back when she addressed the issue, accusing some Fever fans of hurling racist insults during games.
Honestly, it's been a lot of nonsense. I think in my 11-year career, I've never experienced the racial comments from the Indiana Fever fan base. We had heard.
Throughout my 11-year career, I have never encountered racism like this, Thomas said, adding that it's unacceptable for fans to resort to such behavior simply because of the color of a player's skin. Her comments set off a firestorm, with both the media and social media becoming battlegrounds for heated debates about racism, fan behavior, and the role of athletes in addressing these issues. But the problem goes beyond a single player or a handful of fans. The WNBA is a league known for its advocacy on social justice issues.
We all know what this really is. It's an attack on Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark's the wrong face for this league because her fans are so racist. Where have I heard this argument before?
With many of its players being outspoken about matters like racial inequality, LGBTQ+ rights, and gender equity. Now, the very issues the league has championed are surfacing in a way that threatens to divide its players, fan base, and organizational structure. While Clark herself isn't responsible for the actions of certain fans, the WNBA is grappling with the fallout of her success and what it means for its core identity as a progressive, inclusive league. With the spotlight now firmly on Caitlin Clark and her fan base, many are asking whether it's fair to hold the young star accountable for the actions of her fans. Some players, media figures, and WNBA insiders have suggested that Clark's meteoric rise has inadvertently created a space for bad actors to enter the league's fan community, bringing with them racism, bigotry, and harassment. But is it really Clark's fault? Clark, for her part, has consistently spoken out against inappropriate behavior, making it clear that she does not condone racism or any form of harassment. In response to the controversy, she stated, "There is no place for racism or hate in our sport."
What's wrong with the WNBA? What's wrong with diversity, equity, and inclusion? What's wrong with this race agenda? What's wrong with this Black Queens agenda? After what she did at Iowa her senior year, I started saying, hey, I think she's going to be the biggest star in sports. And we've never seen this. This is a woman in America that is going to dwarf the men in terms of popularity and influence. Driving, we haven't seen this since Tiger Woods.
Literally every step of the way, it's just like, watch her, watch how she plays, watch how she handles her business. By the way, first rookie in postseason WNBA history to have 25, 5, and 5 in a game. She did that last night. They came so close to forcing a third game.
Clark emphasized that these kinds of actions are not reflective of true WNBA fans or the Fever organization, and they should never be tolerated. However, some within the WNBA community argue that Clark could do more to denounce the actions of her fan base. Critics have called for her to take a more active role in addressing the issue, while others believe that Clark is being unfairly targeted simply because of her success. The reality is that Clark is a 22-year-old rookie, still adjusting to the pressures of professional sports. Expecting her to single-handedly police the behavior of her fans may be an unrealistic demand. But the question remains, is Caitlin Clark to blame for the growing tension within the WNBA? Or is she simply caught in the crossfire of a larger cultural shift? As the debate rages on, it's clear that the WNBA is grappling with more than just the actions of a few bad fans. It's a struggle over how to handle the league's newfound popularity and the challenges that come with it. Moreover, the complexity of social media adds fuel to the fire. On platforms like Twitter and Instagram, the line between legitimate fans and trolls becomes blurred. While the majority of Clark's supporters may be respectful, it's impossible to ignore the handful of individuals who tarnish her fan base with their behavior. And because Clark's rise to fame is so recent, she's been thrust into a position where every comment, tweet, or post associated with her name can become a source of controversy. It's a difficult position for any young athlete to be in, balancing the expectations of her team, the league, and her fans, all while trying to maintain her own mental health and focus on her game. In this sense, blaming Clark for the actions of her fans not only overlooks the real problem, but places an undue burden on an athlete who, like many others, is simply trying to excel at her sport. The media's role and the players' response. The media has played a significant role in amplifying the controversy surrounding Caitlin Clark and the WNBA. News outlets and social media platforms have seized upon the accusations of racism and fan misconduct, often presenting the issue in ways that have further polarized the conversation. Some media outlets have focused heavily on the accusations of racism, while others have questioned whether the situation is being overblown by the WNBA itself. The result has been a complex and heated debate about where the line should be drawn between calling out inappropriate behavior and unfairly scapegoating a single player. In the midst of this media frenzy, several WNBA players have spoken out, both in support of Clark and in defense of their own experiences. Alyssa Thomas has been particularly vocal, expressing her disappointment in the media for giving a platform to trolls and racists on social media.
There's an easy way. The league doesn't have to get involved. The Indiana Fever don't have to do something to get you away from social media. Put your phone down. Don't download the apps. Don't engage. Don't hold the Indiana Fever responsible for people whose tweets.
We come here to play basketball and entertain our fans, not deal with this kind of behavior, Thomas stated. Connecticut Sun guard Dejanai Carrington has also been the target of racist and violent messages following the playoff incident in which she accidentally struck Clark in the eye during a game. It was inadvertent, Clark said, downplaying the incident.
The WNBA, because it's a woke league and because it's leaned into people directing their hatred of Caitlin Clark at Caitlin Clark fans.
However, the media and social media blew it out of proportion, further stoking tensions between the teams and their fan bases. The players' responses have revealed a deep frustration with how these issues are being handled, both by the media and the league. Many feel that the conversation has shifted away from basketball and toward a more toxic narrative that threatens to overshadow the achievements of the players on the court. As the media continues to dissect every detail of the controversy, the WNBA's players are left to navigate an increasingly tense and divided environment. What makes the media's role particularly problematic is that it often thrives on controversy. In a sport like the WNBA, which is fighting for greater visibility and market share, the attention brought by controversy can sometimes overshadow the achievements that should be celebrated. Clark's eye injury, for example, became a focal point of discussions not because it was career-threatening, but because it allowed the media to further inflame the rivalry between her and Carrington. The real story, the success of both players, and the competitiveness of the playoff series, was pushed aside in favor of sensationalist narratives that ultimately harmed the league. The media's role in creating and sustaining these narratives has also placed pressure on the WNBA to respond. League officials find themselves walking a tightrope, attempting to address the very real concerns of racism and fan behavior while not alienating the growing number of new fans who are essential to the WNBA's future. Striking this balance is no easy task, and the way the league handles this situation will likely set a precedent for how it deals with similar controversies in the future. As the controversy continues to build, some observers have suggested that the backlash against Caitlin Clark is not really about her fans or even about racism. Instead, they argue that the real issue is jealousy. Could this all be driven by envy of Clark's success? After all, Clark's unprecedented rise to stardom has disrupted the traditional hierarchy within the WNBA. With her massive fan base, multi-million-dollar endorsement deals, and rapidly growing influence, Clark has become the face of the league almost overnight. In doing so, she has eclipsed even some of the league's most established stars, many of whom have spent years building their careers without receiving the same level of attention or opportunities. This sudden shift has clearly ruffled some feathers. Players who have been grinding in the WNBA for years without the same level of attention or recognition may feel sidelined by the arrival of a young star like Clark. But is it fair to blame Clark for simply being successful? And is the backlash really about her fans? Or is it a reflection of a deeper sense of resentment within the league? The jealousy factor cannot be ignored. While Clark's success has undeniably brought more attention to the WNBA, it has also raised uncomfortable questions about how the league values its players. Is it all about marketability, or should there be more emphasis on honoring the contributions of long-standing veterans who have paved the way for rising stars like Clark? Players like Aja Wilson and Breanna Stewart, who have been the face of the league for years, may understandably feel overlooked in the media frenzy surrounding Clark. Both have achieved remarkable success in their careers, earning MVP honors and championship titles. Yet neither has received the same level of endorsement deals or media coverage as Clark, who is still in the early stages of her professional career. It's a difficult issue for the WNBA to navigate. On the one hand, Clark's popularity is undeniable, and the league is right to capitalize on the momentum she's bringing. But on the other hand, ignoring the accomplishments of veteran players in favor of a rookie could alienate the very athletes who have been instrumental in building the league's reputation. The jealousy factor also plays into a larger conversation about how women athletes are marketed. In men's sports, athletes often achieve fame and recognition through a combination of skill, charisma, and marketability. However, in women's sports, marketability is often emphasized to a greater degree, sometimes at the expense of recognizing sustained excellence. Clark's rise, while well-deserved, highlights the tension between talent and marketability, a tension that the WNBA will need to address as it continues to grow. This debate isn't just about shoes or contracts, it's about the broader cultural impact of women's sports and how athletes are valued, marketed, and represented. Women athletes, particularly in the WNBA, have long been some of the most socially conscious and vocal advocates for change, both within the sports industry and in society at large. From speaking out on social justice issues such as Black Lives Matter and LGBTQ+ rights, to advocating for gender pay equity and better working conditions, WNBA players have consistently led the charge in important conversations, often with little of the recognition their male counterparts receive. Nike's decision about whether to give Caitlin Clark her signature shoe first or to prioritize A'ja Wilson has the potential to spark a critical and overdue conversation about representation in sports marketing, particularly the representation of Black women. Historically, Black women athletes have often been overlooked or underrepresented in major endorsement deals. The power dynamics at play in these kinds of decisions can sometimes favor newer, more marketable faces like Clark over established stars like Wilson, who have been contributing to their sport for years. This issue taps into a broader question about what society values in athletes. Is it purely about marketability and star power, or is it also about sustained excellence and contribution to the sport? If Nike chooses to release Clark's shoe first, it could prompt scrutiny over why Black women, despite their dominance in the WNBA and other sports, continue to face hurdles in securing high-profile, lucrative endorsements. It could shine a light on the imbalance in how endorsement deals are distributed and who gets to be the face of women's sports. This could lead to a much-needed discussion about equity and fairness in sports marketing. On the other hand, if Nike delays Clark's shoe in favor of giving Wilson her long-overdue signature line, it could be seen as a move toward correcting these imbalances. It would signal that brands like Nike are taking steps to recognize the contributions of Black women athletes and giving them the recognition they deserve. However, this debate goes beyond race or popularity. It's about fairness and the future of how female athletes are marketed and valued. The decision Nike makes here could have far-reaching consequences for the next generation of athletes, shaping how women's sports are perceived and represented in the years to come. The ramifications of this decision extend far beyond Caitlin Clark and A'ja Wilson. What's really at stake is the future of women's sports marketing. If Nike can get this right, they could set a new standard for how brands support female athletes. The success of a Caitlin Clark or A'ja Wilson signature shoe could open the door for more signature shoe deals across the WNBA, finally giving women athletes the recognition and endorsement opportunities they deserve. It's astonishing to think that in 2024, we're still talking about the lack of signature shoes for women in professional basketball. In contrast, male athletes in the NBA have long enjoyed the benefits of endorsement deals and signature lines. Players like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, and Kevin Durant have built empires around their shoes, and their sneaker deals have become as much a part of their legacy as their on-court achievements. Why hasn't this happened yet for women? Part of the problem lies in the historical underrepresentation of women's sports in the mainstream media and marketplace. For years, female athletes have had to fight for the same opportunities, visibility, and recognition that their male counterparts have enjoyed. And while progress has been made, there's still a long way to go. The delay in Caitlin Clark's shoe release is just the latest example of how women's sports continue to be treated differently than men's. However, the potential is there. If Nike chooses to launch Clark's shoe successfully and addresses the concerns raised by Wilson and other players, it could be a watershed moment for the WNBA. A successful shoe launch could open the door for more endorsement deals, greater media coverage, and ultimately, a more significant investment in women's sports. The stakes are high, not just for Clark and Wilson, but for the entire future of women's sports marketing. This decision could shape how female athletes are viewed and valued for years to come. At the end of the day, this isn't just about a single athlete or a single shoe. It's about the future of women's sports marketing as a whole. Caitlin Clark and A'ja Wilson represent two different but equally important paths forward for the WNBA. Both athletes have the power to redefine what it means to be a professional female basketball player in 2024, and both deserve their moment in the spotlight. Nike's decision could either propel the WNBA into a new era of recognition or set things back if handled poorly. As for Clark and Wilson, their legacies are intertwined in this unfolding drama, but there's no doubt that both will continue to dominate the court and shape the future of women's basketball. So what do you think? Should Nike have launched Clark's shoe already, or does A'ja Wilson deserve her shot first? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And remember, if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more updates on Caitlin Clark, Aja Wilson, and the evolving landscape of women's basketball. Stay tuned for more.